Hey, John Horn here with episode 14 of WIP Wednesday. Hey, so today I'm coming to you with just a very straightforward topic. That topic is standards, personal standards. And I just want to start out by telling a story. And this story is about an architect. Some may or may not have heard it. And this architect, he's getting to the point in his career to where, he's ready to, retire, walk away, go into his next stage, next step of life, if you will. And he designs houses. He designs houses, from the ground up, from point A to point B, from start to finish, until, everything is signed, sealed, and delivered and given to the homeowner. So he goes to, his boss, the owner of the company, and explains, his desire to retire, to walk away. And the boss, the owner, explains to him, hey, just hang on for one more project. Can you do one more project for me? And, more or less just begs and pleads and, hey, just one more. So the architect agrees. He's on board, but his purpose, his fire flame, if you will, it's kind of fizzled out. And start to finish, he's on the job. Mentally he's there, but he does it to a little bit lower standard, than what he would used to. And, his level of quality or attainment, has kind of dropped off, cut some corners, but nonetheless, still, a very awesome home, for someone. So, he finishes up, goes to the owner of the company and, hey, everything's done. I'm ready to walk away. And the owner opens the drawer, takes out a set of keys, and goes to hand him the set of keys to the house in which he just built. Now, if you think about that for a minute, his standards were lowered. His personal standards, he kind of cut some corners. And man, could you imagine? Could you imagine if that was you, or if you was in that situation? So again, the standards, very basically a level of quality or attainment. I always say, set the bar. Basically, that's setting a standard, a high standard of service. That's what we always like to have. If we go to a restaurant, that's what we're looking for, and we have a standard, if you will, that we gauge, or I would almost say judge, the waitress or the restaurant by. An idea or a thing, used to measure, again, setting the bar. Standards, quotes on standards, standards over feelings. Sometimes we let our feelings get in the way, and it changes our standards. Create high standards and big goals for yourself. Again, just a very common quote. Never apologize for having high standards. So that's what, if we debate, hey, your standards, are they high or are they low? We could always probably make them a little bit higher. We from a personal viewpoint, we try to make them attainable. We should actually try to set them, more of a stretch goal. Personal standards, integrity, respect for the law, personal hygiene. Most people have a standard in which, they set for their hygiene. Military standards, very basic ones. Minimum age, citizenship based on, and then from there, criminal history. So they do a background check. Team standards, this is a very big one, for me, because I think between, sports, athletics, and then even occupation-wise, there's a team setting, a team atmosphere, and that's what the standards should be based, according to, where they're at. High-performing standards, accountability. I think everyone looks for, a good coach or, a good leader. They look for individuals that hold other individuals accountable, for their actions. Caring attitudes toward others. Attitude is everything. Attitudes are contagious, whether they're positive or negative. They're contagious. Maintain open and honest communication. I think in a team atmosphere that's very big. That's very major. is open and honest communication, commitment and belief in self and each other. And then from there, job standards. Most occupations hire based on skills and abilities and fire based on behaviors. So again, standards are set in comparison to each one of those. I firmly believe that you only live up to the standards, or you only live up to the standards in which you set. So if you set standards on your life, that's the ones you're going to live up to. You're not going to have someone come up and say, hey, you need to do this. Well, if it's not in accordance to your own personal standards, or if there's no reasoning as to why that should be important in your life, chances are you're probably not going to do it. You're not going to be bought in to that aspect. So develop, high standards, personal standards, physically, mentally, spiritually, even legally, ethically, and morally. Set your standards high. Very important one here is don't hold others to your standards. So it would be unfair to me to hold someone else to a standard in which I set. Now, if it's open and honest communication and the standard is set, it's mutually agreed upon, maybe it's a friend, it's a standard, from a physical standard, going to the gym, we hold each other accountable, we set the standard, and, we move forward from there. So if you have firmly communicated your standards in a way in which everyone understands them, then it's very easy to hold others accountable to that standard or to that action, if you will. So, you can get on the internet, you can get on YouTube, Google standards, and there's a lot of stuff out there, based on standards. Again, just scratching the surface, but I would challenge you to, assess your standards, your personal standards, and then, adjust them as you see fit. Maybe it's a physical standard, raise it, maybe it's too high, maybe it's way out in left field, bring it in a little bit, reassess it, reset it, reset the bar, and then, do what you have to do. But standards, everyone has to have them. I'm a firm believer in that. Everyone has to have them. So, WIP Wednesday, episode 14, John Horn. Let's be better today than what we were yesterday. Better tomorrow than what we are today. And have a great Wednesday, and I'm out.